Anyways, here's like this thing. It's called The Fall of Minneapolis. Okay, I want to play a little bit of it. And while we do this, we're also going to be playing some Mario Kart, because I have to do some practice. I gotta do some Mario practice, huh? Yeah, the police say like excited delirium. It's crazy. And they get so excited that they simply just die under our feet. Who could have seen it? Who could have seen it coming? Who could have seen this coming? The first portion of the whole thing is basically just like them replaying the whole body cam footage, which we don't need to watch. We do not. It's just not something we need to watch. And I don't want to get banned. But anyways, George Floyd was like, I just had COVID, I can't breathe. And obviously they take him out of the car, and then they kneel on him and you know? Is it bannable? I don't know. I don't want to give it a try. Because at some point he does begin dying. So I don't know when that begins, and I don't know when I would get banned for showing it. So we're just gonna not show it. Because that seems like a better idea than like hoping that I won't get banned and then getting banned. I'll keep it small just in case anything horrible happens.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man, please, man. Come on, lean back. I just lost my mom, man.
Step on the face away.
Go ahead and undo your seatbelt. Man, please, I don't want to get shot. I don't plan on shooting you. I'm just saying, just take your time.
Step on the face away.
To be honest, he was probably planning on shooting him.
I'm not gonna shoot you. Step on the face away.
I'm gonna get out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man.
This meme is very real.
For 5 whole excruciating minutes.
For 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
8:46, 8:46, 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
9 minutes and 29 seconds.
9 minutes and 29 seconds, right?
Actually, 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
None of them mentioned that the officers called for an EMS 36 seconds after Floyd was on the ground. I mean, so, okay, if that's the case, then why do you keep kneeling on him then? Yeah, so I don't know why they were bringing up the time discrepancy for how long he was kneeled on when the original like body cam footage and like surveillance footage came out. Like that means anything, that people in the media were sometimes wrong about the exact time that it took to kill this guy. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Prosecutor said Monday, correcting the 8 minutes and 46 second timing that had been a symbol of police brutality. In opening statements, Chauvin's criminal trial prosecutor Anthony Jerry Blackwell repeatedly emphasized that 9:29 timing, telling jurors that they were the three most important numbers in the case. He broke down the timing of the kneeling in 4 sections. 4 minutes and 46 seconds, Floyd cried out for help. 53 seconds as Floyd flailed due to seizures, and 3 minutes 51 seconds as Floyd was non-responsive. Chauvin's defense team similarly accepted the new timing as accurate to support its own argument. Okay, so as they're trying to make everybody look stupid, even like the defense team said that it was like for the longest time that people said, which is 9 minutes, almost 9.5 minutes. The evidence is far greater than 9:29 that they said. Prosecutors, included Democratic congressmen, have held moments of silence for 8:46, kneeling in Diane's stand up to violence of black racism, 8:46. And just minutes after the trial began on Monday, members of Floyd's family went down on one knee for 8:46 to commemorate his death. 8:46 timing was initially included in a criminal complaint against. Oh, it was the criminal complaint. That number was based on a bystander video of Floyd's death that went viral. The video, in which is over 10 minutes long and all, begins with Chauvin already on his neck. Okay, that makes sense. In June, okay, so like, why are you getting on these people for giving like the incorrect time when for the longest time we didn't have all of the video footage? Okay, dumbass monkey. In June, weeks after the initial complaint, Hennepin County Attorney's Office told CNN Chauvin was actually knelt on for 7 minutes and 46 seconds. And then like the attorney's office did like the lowest number. Okay. But the defense team and the prosecution were both like, yeah, 92901. Okay.
We're now in a precinct with boarded up windows. I could tell what was going on outside. I couldn't see it, but you could hear it. You could tell. I knew there were fires. The radio traffic was completely insane. It was fire after fire after fire. The whole city was burning, just like night 1 and night 2.
Looks like the U.S. Bank building at 28th and Lake is on fire. Flames above the buildings in front of it.
Copy. U.S. Bank at 28th and Lake appears to be on fire.
Fire east of the 3rd precinct.
Copy. Large fire east of the 3rd precinct, 2018.
I was shocked. I said, no way, no fucking way. And the city's not that stupid. They're not going to do that. You can't just give up a precinct. I did not think anybody in their right mind would think it would be a good tactical move to give up a precinct.
I made the decision to evacuate the 3rd precinct.
When do you get word that it's finally time to leave the building? So I get a command over the radio that we need to evacuate the 3rd precinct.
Evacuate now.
So my question, like, what does this have to do with really anything, honestly?
Like, right now?
Do we have to evacuate right now?
And they said, yes, immediately.
You need to evacuate now. Evacuate, evacuate, evacuate.
I have 50-some people. I quickly get on the air and tell everyone to gather in the roll call room. I get a phone call from the head of 911 as I'm trying to do roll call, and she says, our whole 911 backup system is there. You need to go get the radios. And
it was super scary.
Okay.
We almost lost our artifacts.
Either we're in so much danger that we're trying to evacuate right this second.
Rip Foot Locker and T-Mobile, never forget. You forgot Target.
Going now as fast as we
So you already forgot, is what you're saying.
SWAT teams come in. I realize they are our escort out, and one of the SWAT team leaders looks at me and he says,
so what's their angle here? Floyd's death was planned and the riots were planned. I think this is just like a sap story for like the cops there. They were like, we were so sad. We were so humiliated after we strangled this guy for like 9 minutes. And instead of the police department, instead of like using more force that could instigate more damage, decided to back off and try and just like document people and arrest people later, rather than like getting involved and possibly leading to more human life lost, which I think honestly was a great decision. Conservatives don't like it because what they wanted was for like the police to like walk through the streets blowing everybody's heads off who had like a rock in their hand. But since they didn't get that, they're like, Minneapolis is over and now it's ruled by like the criminals and the blacks. Can you believe there's consequences to your actions? And honestly, they were kind of fine. And honestly, all of the cops were actually fine at the end of the day, which is kind of remarkable if you think about it. You know what's interesting? These cops are actually reacting to what it was like to being forced to engage in like de-escalation tactics rather than just start like blasting. That's actually really remarkable. Like their whole thing is that I'm losing my mind because I was told not to just start shooting. I don't even know what to do anymore. This shit ain't nothing to me, man. Wait, I want to see something. Timeline of George Floyd protests. This is Minneapolis, May 16th, day after. So incidents circulated by the media. By midday, people were gathered by the thousands in makeshift memorial. Organizer emphasized keeping the protests peaceful. Protesters and arrested for the killing and the charges. The evening protest rally turned into a march on the police department, the 3rd precinct. After the main protest group disbanded on the night of the 26th, as a much smaller group numbering in the hundreds spray painted the building and threw rocks and bottles, broke the windows of the station and vandalized the squad car, and protesters trying to stop them. Around 8 p.m. police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at the demonstrators, some of whom have thrown water balls at police officers. Protests were held in several locations throughout Minneapolis, St. Paul metropolitan area in the subsequent days. Oh, like the first one, they were every single day Minneapolis was burning to the ground. It looks like fucking Nagasaki it's like, because what they're saying right now is they're trying to make it seem like it's that Family Guy like gag where like Peter's trying to like blow up a bunch of Amish people, and he blows up their house and they rebuild, and he blows it up again. That's just every single day in Minneapolis. Apparently the entire city burns to the ground, and they build it back up again, only for it to get burned to the ground again the next day when the riots come back. The situation escalated on the nights of the 27th and the 29th, where widespread arson, rioting, and looting took place. Now that's when that happened. Couple days after. Well, actually 2 days after, sorry. That's when that began. Some initial acts of property destruction on May 27th by a 32-year-old man with ties to white supremacist organizations, who local police investigators said was deliberately inciting racial tension, led to a chain of reactions of fires and looting. Okay. The arrest included people overtaking Minneapolis 3rd Precinct station, setting it on fire on the 28th. Okay. Oh, they're gonna ask me to read this. Okay, let's see. "12 hours after George Floyd died, an autopsy was conducted." I cry every time. "By the Hennepin County Police medical examiner, Dr. Andrew M. Baker. Later that day, Baker met with prosecutors. And FBI agents, and revealed his findings. So what they're showing right now, the autopsy revealed no physical evidence suggesting Mr. Floyd died of asphyxiation. Mr. Floyd did not exhibit the signs of damage to his airway, brain bleeding, or bone injuries, or initial bruising. Mr. Floyd had several external injuries, including lacerations to his lip and bruising on his left shoulder and face. He had abrasions on his fingers and knuckles, as well as his wrists, and injuries likely associated with being handcuffed. Mr. Floyd had pre-existing health conditions, including heavy heart and some coronary artery disease, including at least one artery was approximately 75% blocked. AB sent Mr. Floyd's blood samples to NMS lab, who will provide a full toxology report." Okay. So this is where they're setting this is the part of the thing where they wanted to set the stage that he actually didn't do anything wrong, and how every other thing was the cause of him dying and not being like strangled for 9 minutes. Most cases of untreated hypertension can put you at a risk of death. Get to death quicker. Yeah, it's literally don't believe your lying eyes, right? All right. Also in this, Andrew Baker is called AB. That's the medical examiner. Baker provided some autopsy presentation of the 2020 Microsoft Teams meeting. AB recalled there were indications of Floyd's medical records that had been admitted to methamphetamine detox. He had not issued a final report. Right. AB reiterated that his findings are preliminary and that he has not issued a final report. He opined the ultimate cause of death may prove to be a multifactorial diagnosis based on what AB knows so far. The three factors that the diagnosis could be is 1, coronary disease, 2, stimulants potentially in Mr. Floyd's system, and 3, the exertion caused by Mr. Floyd's encounter with police officers. This would depend. Oh, are they going to highlight that part? Well, I want to see the exertion caused by Mr. Floyd's encounter with police officers right now. And once again, all of this is preliminary. Oh, they just said exertion. Wow, they didn't want to highlight police officers at all. They just said exertion. That's crazy. After days of rioting, prosecutors reviewed the results of Mr. Floyd's toxology report. I don't know what the rioting has to do with like the toxology report, but okay. when the dad's a 4chaner and the mom's a Redditor. It's actually N-word boyfriend, N-word girlfriend. Mr. Floyd's hospital admission not acquired at autopsy. His samples determine actual blood toxicity. And then samples taken at autopsy may have undergone. Okay, so here's one thing that they didn't highlight at all, which is super interesting, is that in this it literally says why you can't completely trust what's being shown here. So take a look at this. It's super interesting. All right, he shared screens and showed results, and he said hospital blood. Those samples are from Mr. Floyd's hospital admission and were not acquired at autopsy. AB said that these samples are better for determining actual blood toxicity than samples taken at autopsy. Samples taken at autopsy may have undergone postmortem disruption, right? So keep that in mind as well. There's fentanyl and meth in his blood that they found. He said that's very high level of fentanyl and can cause pulmonary edema. Mr. Floyd's lungs were 2 to 3 times their normal weight at autopsy. The level, that is a fatal level of fentanyl under normal circumstances, they said. Normal circumstances.
Are you on something right now?
No, nothing. You acting erratic.
If George Floyd would have told the truth about fentanyl and methamphetamine, could that have helped to save his life?
Yes, it could have. That's proven by what happened the year before when he was arrested by Minneapolis police and he was putting tablets in his mouth.
Open your mouth, spit out what you got. Spit out what you got.
He admitted at some point that he had swallowed a bunch of pills, and the paramedics came and talked to him and took his blood pressure, and his blood pressure was extremely high, 216 over 160, and so he ended up going to the hospital.
Get hands up right now.
If he had admitted that he had again ingested pills in the car when they were attempting to arrest him, things could have turned out much differently.
That's a beat that's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
So we know now that the police body camera videos were withheld from the public and even the jurors. When you were able to see those videos, what was going through your mind?
I wish that those videos had been out sooner, that they hadn't been withheld for 2.5 months, because the videos portrayed quite a different story from what we had originally heard.
I can't joke. I can't breathe.
You mentioned you went through these police body camera videos minute by minute.
Right.
What troubled you most?
At the very end of Thomas Lane's body cam video.
One of us ride with?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Ride with?
Yeah.
I don't have my phone, so.
The paramedic handing the bag to Thomas Lane to ventilate the patient, you can see that the oxygen tubing is coiled up. It's not even attached to the oxygen source. That's a big mistake.
Oh, this is so okay. So much deflection here. Okay, so it's Floyd's fault for dying because because before getting kneeled on for 10 minutes, he didn't tell them that he's on some drugs, and it's the paramedics. And after being kneeled on for 10 minutes, even after being non-responsive, it's actually the paramedics' faults for not reviving him after he was already dead. Okay. But it wasn't the guy who strangled him for 10 minutes. It wasn't that guy. It was everybody else, but not him. It's not the cop's fault for strangling him for 10 minutes, just so you know. Are people still trying to blame fentanyl for Floyd's death? Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Here's the thing is that he was a fentanyl user. He was a drug addict. And so the thing about it is that the reason why they said normal circumstances is because he can take more fentanyl in the system than other people can because he was an addict. And so obviously he wouldn't just die of taking that amount of fentanyl. Yeah, it would be normally fatal to just normal people, but also he's a drug addict. Everything he does would be normally fatal to normal people. It's called building up an immunity. If you drunk the same amount as a 10-year alcohol addict, then you would die, but they wouldn't die. And also, he wasn't displaying any of the symptoms of somebody dying of fentanyl. He wouldn't even be conscious. Yeah, for one, the dude's massive. Okay? For one, the dude's massive. He was really big, so he could take more fentanyl. And two, he was an addict, so he could take more fentanyl too. Yeah, are you surprised they didn't just go, I don't know, man, his lungs just did that? Yeah, his lungs just did that not breathing thing. Sorry, rip. And also, if that was the case, and here's the thing, they didn't put him in a recovery position. After he was already handcuffed, they didn't put him on his side as for a recovery position. They kept kneeling on him, on his back and his neck as well. So even if all of this was true, the reason why Chauvin went to jail was because even if everything here is right, even if it was correct, he was still wrong for doing what he did, and it led to his death. Like, here's the thing, okay? If there's like an old person and they're like, we know they have a timer on their forehead, they're going to die in 10 seconds. But you punch the old person and they fall to the ground and they die 5 seconds from the time that they were supposed to die, you killed them. I don't know who I need to tell this to, but you killed that person. No matter how close they actually are to die, your actions caused their death. So even if all of this was true, and Floyd was like 5 seconds from actually dying from like a super fentanyl overdose, that was such a super fentanyl overdose that he would have simply just perished on the spot, just poof, dissolved into like a gaseous form, and then never to be like put together again. All right, is actually still Chauvin's fault for kneeling on him. Yeah, actually, his partner asked if he should put them if they should put him in a recovery position, and then Chauvin was like, "No, I actually love kneeling on this guy. He's the Prince of Darkness."
George Floyd was a healthy young man.
The autopsy shows that Mr. Floyd had no underlying medical problem that caused or contributed to his death.
I believe that's actually true. Oh, so you'll see. Okay, so here's the thing. You're going to see a lot of this is a really important point, because you're going to see a lot of conservatives using this. No bruising on neck, no bruising on back, like no bruising anywhere else. What they're going to say is he didn't show the signs of what people usually seem like when they get strangled to death. That's what they're going to say here. I want to make sure something super quick as well with this. Just so you know, this isn't from the Andrew Baker, actually. This is for the attorneys working for the cops who met with Andrew Baker. This is something that you'll see a lot of conservatives use as well. I remember this one. Death has been certified with levels of 3. If he was found at his home dead with no other apparent causes, this could be acceptable to call it an OD. Okay, but that's the crazy thing about this, is that he wasn't found at his home dead, foaming at the mouth from a fentanyl overdose, was he? It would have been so good for them if that's where they actually found him, but it wasn't actually. They found him under the knee of a cop. That's where they actually found him. So it's almost like this means literally nothing.
I think we all saw video and television coverage of this, and I saw one of the body camera footages from the police officers that showed that he was complaining of shortness of breath before entering into the car.
Once again, which is every reason not to kneel on him.
When I start breathing, it's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
I started realizing that, hey, something was wrong with this. A few days later, I found out that the autopsy report was available online, and so I downloaded the autopsy report and read through it. When I did that, my jaw hit the floor.
I forgot.
No underlying medical problem.
So let's see. So no life-threatening injuries that they found. So once again, this is just in line with the fact that they didn't just like beat him over the head until he died is what they were looking for. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so here's something super interesting, okay? That conservatives do not want to show you about this. So they're showing you a lot of stuff. Here's the thing. Look at this right here. Cardiopulmonary arrest. Okay? Do you know what that means? It means your heart and lungs stopped. Why in the world would they highlight that? I feel like a lot of people who are watching this, who are on like the conservative side, don't know what that means. It just means your heart and lungs stop. It's usually what causes most people to die. That's how most people usually die, you know, when your heart and lungs stop moving. So it just like, yeah, heart and lungs stop. Cool. Very interesting. What they didn't highlight there, do you see that right there, right next to the non-highlighted bit? Complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. You see that? You see that thing like that's right there that they did not highlight? Neck compression. That's so interesting. Remember when they spent the last 47 minutes trying to tell you that they weren't on his neck, they didn't compress his neck, there's no way he would have like not been able to breathe, as literally the top of the medical examiner's office autopsy report says neck compression. Heart stopped, complicating law enforcement subdual and restraint, and neck compression. Neck compression. It's almost like they compressed his neck and he died. That's crazy how that works out.
We acknowledge that additional medical information, including toxicology and further investigation, are necessary for a final report.
Here's the thing, all you need is Baker's autopsy to prove that Chauvin killed him. It literally says that they killed him.
What do you think of the federal government's involvement in this case?
Why not 12 days, 12 seconds, 12 minutes? Very suspicious.
And when I found out the FBI involvement was within 12 to 24 hours, that really raised a red flag for me. The FBI
actually, you know what it may have raised a red flag for him, but you know what raised a red flag for me? A video of a guy strangling a guy for like 10 minutes. That's what was really crazy for me personally. When I saw that, I was like, that's crazy. Somebody should look into that. And you know what? 12 hours later, they really did. He's like, wait a second, high profile, like FBI gets involved in high profile cases all the time. High profile video of a cop strangling a guy for 9 minutes. Of course the FBI is going to get involved. How is this surprising to you? How are you shook? What are you talking about? The FBI got involved in Breonna Taylor's killing. The FBI gets involved in like almost every single high profile a death involving a police officer usually doing the killing. But how is this strange to you? Are you stupid? Is that what you are? You're a stupid man? He called me later that day and told that there are no medical findings that showed any injury to vital structures. Because they keep talking about like injury. We're not talking about injury. We're talking about whether he kneeled on him and it compressed his neck, leading him to die. That's what we're talking about here. They're like, well, his throat is still there.
So tell us about that. So at some point when you're there at the scene still, did a fire truck come?
Yes.
And they're coming to respond to the call.
They're coming to respond to the call.
Okay, this part is actually pretty important. And it's also why Chauvin and them are going to jail for this as well. So And you'll see, actually, I think you're going to see Chauvin's mom. One of their star witnesses for this little documentary is actually his mom. They called his mommy to tell us why he definitely doesn't deserve to be in jail.
As you reflect on Exhibit 17, I must ask you, is this a trained Minneapolis Police Department defensive tactics technique?
It is not.
When I heard that part of the testimony,
oh, look, it's his mom.
I really wanted to get up off my chair and yell, bullshit.
Several of those witnesses testified that MRT,
it's his mommy,
maximal restraint technique, was not a part of Minneapolis police policy.
Oh, it wasn't part of the training. The pages that didn't want to be presented in court because they weren't in the manual. I've seen the manual. I've read through the manuals. I've seen them. They're not in the manuals? Well, they sure as hell are in Derek's training manuals. So how can they say that they don't exist?
That's Derek's manual.
These are Derek's training manuals.
And MRT is in there?
Yes, it's in there.
You know what's crazy about that? Is that guy's knee is actually not on his neck. That's not on his neck. But we very clearly see a photo where his knee is absolutely on his neck. It's very curious how that works out. It's almost like when the cops looked at the what Chauvin was doing and thought about what they actually teach, they're like, wait a second, there's a huge difference between what's going on in these two things, and realize that wasn't what they were actually teaching. Concerning looking into this.
So how can you say that's not part of the training? So the chief of police at that time told a frickin' lie.
Bro, his mom is pissed. You know what one thing they're not going to show you in this, which is also super interesting? The one thing that they won't show you, here, let me see if I can pull this up for you really quick. Article right here in Insider. Police officer who knelt on George Floyd's neck had been involved in shootings and was subject to over 10 complaints. He's actually a thug. He has a violent history. He's been involved in several police shootings and has been the subject of complaints of the city's review authority and the officer's police conduct reviews on 10 occasions. This was not the first time Chauvin had been involved in a violent incident during his 19 years in the Minneapolis Police Department. He was involved in violent incidents before, including 3 police shootings, and he had been the subject of over 10 complaints filed to the city's Civilian Review Authority, and the Office of Police Conduct. Another officer on video, To Tao, has a record of similar incidents. He settled an excessive force lawsuit out of court in 2017. Brosman, he's actually been in more shootings than your average gangbanger. In 2006, Chauvin was among 6 officers to respond to a stabbing, according to a 2016 report in the Minneapolis activist group Communities United Against Police Brutality. The report said Wayne Reyes, who was suspect of stabbing his girlfriend and friend, was stopped in his truck, and responding officers, 6 officers fired upon and killed him, including the report, which said that the police accused Reyes of pointing a shotgun at the officers. 2 years later, just after 2 o'clock in the morning in 2008, Chauvin responded to a 9/11 domestic assault call the Phillips neighborhood in Minneapolis. The Pioneer Press reported Chauvin and his police force partner entered the home, confronting Ira Lateral Tolles, whose partner had made a 9/11 call. Tolles ran from the pair, and they caught and tried to subdue him. The police statement said. The statement said that Tolles grabbed the other officer's gun. Chauvin shot him in the torso. In 2008. The department awarded Chauvin the medal for his valor in response to the incident with an armed man. Chauvin's actually shot and killed at least 2 people before this. Well, at least shot at least 2 people before this. He was among 5 officers to respond to a shooting. Leroy Martinez, a 23-year-old Alaskan native, was spotted running from the scene, and officers gave chase. The police said Martinez brandished a pistol as he fled. Terry Nutter, one of the responding officers, shot Martinez. An eyewitness account challenged the police's claim that Martinez was holding a gun and said they had no reason to shoot that boy. He's been the subject of many internal complaints, demeaning tone, derogatory language, and other things as well. He had also been the subject of 7 reviews by the local police and conduct. Each review concludes, closed, no discipline. The guy has been racking up complaints, and they're just like, they just let him go and just don't worry about anything until he kills somebody again. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else in here. Like the rest of it is just like Minneapolis is so scary and spooky and terrible now, and then Chauvin and other people were like, oh, like Alex Kyung, that guy's like, I'm scared about what's gonna happen to me next. Please help me. So yeah, there you go. That's the Fall of Minneapolis little movie that they put out. I thought it might be interesting to go over, just to like re-up on some of the talking points used by conservatives, because you're going to see a lot of them use this type of stuff. You're going to see a lot of them do this type of stuff.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. If you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button. If you don't, it'll make Boo very sad. I know a bunch of you who are watching are not subscribed. Join the frenzy. You won't regret it. Thank you, Boo.